Hi. Recently, I've been releasing a lot of content discussing the science of water fasting, from 1 day to 2 weeks of water fasting and what happens to your health. Well, on one of those videos, I had an amazing subscriber comment that he underwent an over 50-day water fast, and that sparked this idea. Why not interview him and get his experience? And beyond even that, why not explain the physiology of what happened to him as he describes his experiences? So that's exactly what I did. This is the first of 3 videos breaking down my interview with Thrag of YouTube, or Ron of real life. We cover 3 topics. 1, how long the fast was and how much weight did he lose. 2, why Ron chose water fasting over other methods. And 3, he had the foresight to go to the doctor. So what happened to his health during the fast? Let's begin.
My water fast was 54 days. And I started at exactly 258.3 pounds. And on my 52nd day, I was 195.8. And then I guess it's fair to say, considering the average of around roughly 0.7, I probably lost an additional pound and a half from the 195. From the 195.8. So essentially, I essentially, to keep it simple, I went from 260 pounds to about, I want to say probably 192, 193.
Okay, so it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out why Ron lost so much weight. If you aren't consuming any macromolecules like fats and carbohydrates that can be used by your cells to generate energy, the body is required to burn through what glycogen reserves exist in the muscles and liver, known as glycogenolysis, as well as promote lipolysis, fat molecule release from the fat cells into the bloodstream to be taken up by millions of cells for them to use their fat metabolism capabilities to oxidize or utilize the fat molecules for energy production. Many hormones change, so insulin tanks, ghrelin rises, leptin drops, neuropeptide Y increases. So much changes. We'll discuss some of these coming up, but for now, suffice it to say that Ron's body went through a major shift in hormonal profile and fat metabolism, all to keep him alive as he lost almost 31 kilograms, 70 pounds. Next, I asked him why he chose a water fast over some other methods of weight loss and health betterment. Here's Ron.
I gained weight when I fractured my ankle running. And at the same time, I fractured my ankle pretty bad. And I also dislocated my shoulder on the same fall. So I've always been I love physical activity, and that kind of threw me into a little bit of a hole where it was like my mother, had to help me take a shower. That was pretty hard on me. And yeah, I gained a lot of weight because I've always been someone who has a huge appetite for eating. So that led to a culmination of just rapid weight gain, and considering, when I was young, I also, I was actually I was a heavy set kid. I was pretty fat. I've read multiple books. I actually was exposed to Jason Fung. I'm not sure if you know who Dr. Jason, but I was exposed to Dr. Jason Fung, I think 10 days into my fast. And I just came across a video by a healthy alternative. I just watched a few of his videos about fasting. I had found out about Angus, and I've always been the type of like, well, I didn't need my exact saying, well, I didn't need supervision to get to this weight. Why do I need supervision to get back down? So, it's the kind of screw mentality I have, I guess. But, that's how I explain it to myself. I'm like, our ancestors probably did much worse than this.
So, Ron went through a hard time with a tough ankle injury, which would be extremely difficult for any of us. But after gaining weight, he decided on going to the complete extreme into the opposite direction as possible. So I think his tough-minded mentality allowed him to do something that few people can do, which is really admirable. That said, he mentioned not needing supervision to get back out of this at the time overweight situation. Again, I really admire the mentality, but there are some nuances to point out here. So actually, before I get into them, in a future video, he'll even mention some of the reasons why supervision, or at least guidance, might have saved him some trouble during his water fast, but we'll save that for the near future. The point being is that while our body can regulate excess well, excess consumption, for example, for a long time, years even, it actually has more difficulty when we lack certain nutrients, because not all molecules that we consume are stored. So when we stop consuming them, our body handles it well enough for a while, but eventually uses drastic means to make sure that we don't hurt ourselves. So while supervision may not be necessary, there are more considerations than going from overeating to doing an abrupt U-turn into not eating anything. So we'll discuss that in more detail later in this series. Next, we discussed some of his health markers when he visited the doctor. Here's Ron again.
I went to my doctor and I just wanted to see how she would react without knowing anything, Essentially, it was almost like a test, it was like testing like a student, like, hey, here's the numbers, here's the questions, what can you deduce from, these numbers, what can you deduce? Is he healthy or what? So I kind of just wanted to see what her professional opinion was without any sort of bias at all. So, because I needed to do a physical anyways. And so I organized that, and part of the physical was, due to the nature of my job, they had to see almost everything, So I just wanted to see. And all she mentioned to me was that I had a lower than normal fasting glucose, which makes sense because I'm 17 days fasted at that point, and I had a very low vitamin D level. That I'm not sure why. I mean, it could be that it just wasn't getting as much sun, maybe, but I don't know if the fast had something to do with that. I'm not so sure.
I have to admit, I love this part especially. Ron is a really intelligent guy, and it made me chuckle when he mentioned that he didn't want to tell his doctor that he was, 17 days into a water fast. So he's absolutely right that it would have highly likely have biased her advice to him. Not that I recommend keeping vital information from your physician, but for a routine physical with no other health issues, I get a kick out of this approach. So anyway, as you heard, everything was normal, except his blood sugar and vitamin D levels were low. So why might that be? Well, blood sugar always drops from not consuming carbohydrates. The reason there was any blood sugar present is because our liver begins producing glucose, blood sugar, when a hormone known as glucagon is released by the pancreas. Glucagon stimulates the liver to convert a section of the fat molecule released by the fat cells into sugar and kick it out into the bloodstream. Without this process, we'd end up in a coma, as our brain benefits from a certain amount of blood sugar. So it being low is normal under these circumstances. That said, he also mentioned reduced vitamin D levels. There are a number of possibilities here. So one, there are multiple forms of vitamin D, so the test could have detected one and not the others, meaning the one being measured may be metabolized into some of the others at a more rapid pace, leaving the stores low. Two, vitamin D is stored in fat tissue, but levels tend to circulate when we consume it. And since Ron wasn't consuming anything other than water, his fat store release may have been minimal to preserve tissue vitamin D levels, leaving blood levels low. So ultimately, Ron did an amazing job through perseverance, and it clearly worked for him. But as you know, I believe in focusing on sustainability, and Ron did a brilliant job of this. So in the second video of our series with Ron, we're going to go into how he got not only into maintaining his water fast results, but improved on them massively, as well as how he broke his fast after 54 days. See you there.